Last month I was very fortunate to have traveled to the Holy Land on a pilgrimage. Father Wally Hyclack, my successor as pastor at St. Mary the Falls, was the spiritual leader, and Sister Barb Volpak was the tour leader. And our tour guide was an Israeli Catholic who had been a biblical archaeologist who was now using his wealth and sharing his wealth with the pilgrims who are traveling to the land of Jesus. Before I left, I told people that I had been preaching about the Holy Land for 50 years, and it's about time I got to see what I've been talking about. Now that I've been there, I'm saying that I should have made that trip 50 years ago, and I really mean that. I've always heard people who have visited Israel say that they've come back changed. They've come back with a deeper appreciation of their Christian faith and certainly their Catholic faith. And they come back knowing that they're never going to read the Gospels like they had before. And I found that to be absolutely true. While all pilgrimage itineraries may vary slightly, they all carry with them traveling to the major places that you read about in the Gospels. You first of all visit the town of Nazareth, where, of course, it was the city of the Annunciation, and where Mary and Joseph and Jesus lived. You visit the town of Capernaum, where Jesus lived after he left Nazareth, and you also visit there the house of St. Peter, where Jesus cured St. Peter's mother-in-law. You actually take a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee, and you get to see the very same sights that Jesus saw when he sailed those waters. You travel south down along the Jordan River. You come to visit the place where Jesus was baptized by John. And then you go a short distance from there to the Dead Sea. You see the place where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found and the community of the Essenes that wrote them. And from there you travel to Bethlehem and you visit the Church of the Nativity, which of course marks the birthplace of our Lord. You stay in Jerusalem for a number of days, and you visit the room of the Last Supper, the Mount of Olives, the Garden of Gethsemane, where you see trees that Jesus actually saw. There's a tree there that's over 4,000 years old. Just absolutely remarkable. You will also see the house of Caiaphas, where Jesus was tried before the Sanhedrin, and you get to actually go into the prison where Jesus was held overnight before he was removed and taken to Pontius Pilate on Good Friday. You will see the stone steps that Jesus undoubtedly used when he was being moved to see Pilate and on his way to the crucifixion. You walk the Via Dolorosa, the way of the cross, along the narrow streets of Jerusalem. You get to visit in Jerusalem what's called the Western Wall, or some people call it the Wailing Wall, which is what Jesus would have certainly seen in his day. And it's a place today that is a great devotion to the Jewish people, because it's the last remnant of the great temple in Jerusalem, which was the heart of the Jewish faith for many, many centuries, until it was destroyed by the Romans back in 70 A.D. In fact, when you're there, you actually can practice the Jewish practice of taking a small piece of paper on which you put the intentions for which you pray, and put them and leave them between the massive stones of that western wall of the former temple. Some of the places you visit mark the general area where Jesus did significant things, like the Sermon on the Mount and the Transfiguration and the multiplication of the loaves and fish, and where Jesus changed water into wine in Cana in Galilee. You know, their exact location is lost to history, but the general area isn't. The general area isn't. But there are other places there is no doubt that Jesus was there, and you can stand and you can walk where Jesus did. For me, one of the highlights is on our pilgrimage was the opportunity I had to celebrate Mass in Bethlehem at the Cave of the Shepherds, and I found it very moving, and I'll always certainly remember that. I'm sure that everyone who comes back from Israel comes back with different memories, but for all of them, I think all people come back deeply moved. I was, and I'm sure if you would go, you would be as well. So I simply say to you, please, 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 put a pilgrimage to the Holy Land on your bucket list. Don't put it off. You will not regret going. And by the way, do not fear that Israel is a dangerous place to visit, because it isn't. It isn't. Despite what you see on TV and, you may be reading the paper, most Jews and Arabs live together in peace. They really do, because they know that when violence does break out, both sides suffer in any number of ways. I'm sure that they watch the news on their TV and see shootings in our schools and violence in our streets, and they may say, why would you want to visit the United States? It's such a dangerous place. Well, our country isn't dangerous, and neither is theirs. You are very fortunate that early this January, Deacon Tom Cully and his wife Barb will be going with a group on a pilgrimage with Father Josh Korek as the spiritual director. And that's a good time to travel, because unlike my pilgrimage this past September, when the temperature was often well over 100 degrees, in January the weather is much more pleasant, much more pleasant. And so if you're able, I would really highly encourage you to consider going on that pilgrimage. I promise you that you will not regret it. If you would like more information, take one of the flyers that are in the vestibule of the church and see where you'd be visiting, and or ask or talk to Deacon Tom. I'm glad I made the trip, and I know if you went, you would be glad as well. If there are any questions that I can answer, please don't hesitate to ask me. I guess, in closing, my prayer for you is one that can be answered in the Holy Land, and that is a prayer that is a simple word that Jesus often prayed, and that is the word shalom, peace. May God bless you.